Welcome back. Today, October 2nd, is International Wrongful Conviction Day, and the Innocence Project and Innocence Network are tirelessly working to try to free people who are innocent and behind bars. Earlier, we spoke with the head of the Innocence Project here in New York and their director of litigation to talk about how they take on cases, the best way people can be freed, and the devastating impact of a life behind bars. On this Wrongful Conviction Day, we are so glad to be joined by representatives from the Innocence Project. Thank you both so much for being here. Since 1993, the Innocence Project has received, 65,000 letters from people who are saying that they're wrongfully convicted. How do you go about deciding which cases you're going to take on?
We have an extraordinary intake team, whose sole purpose is to go through the 2,000 requests for representation that we receive every single year. And that means reading every single letter, right, determining whether the information they have provided gives us a basis upon which to believe there is a way to exonerate them. And those letters are primarily processed looking for DNA cases, right? Can we use DNA evidence to exonerate these people? They then go, there's a very robust vetting process where we request all of the records in the case, the transcripts, the forensic reports, and that team does a comprehensive analysis of these requests for representation. And ultimately, we only accept 35 cases a year for representation, and those are the cases that we believe, having gone through a really rigorous vetting process, we can prove through science, through DNA, they can be proven innocent.
Obviously, when we're talking about wrongful convictions, there are a lot of stats, there are a lot of numbers, but it was important to us and our team to actually show some of the people and the faces and the lives. Is there a common thread when you hear from the people who are wrongfully convicted of the hardest part of all of this?
Well, there's so many parts because it's being separated from your family. It's everything that you've missed out upon. Parents die, and we have clients who weren't able to go to their mother's funeral. Their children grow up and they're returning home to grown children, and they went away when they were 3 or 4 years old. So it's everything that was missed. It's the trauma of being in prison. Prison's a really hard place by design, violent, and so it's everything that's endured. And yet, there's just an incredible tenacity. Our clients don't give up. They persevere. There's so many pictures up on the board, and in a way, these are, people who are unlucky because they were wrongfully convicted, but they are among the lucky people, because when we think of stats and, how many people are innocent who are in prison today, estimates are between 2 and 6% of the prison population. That could mean, anywhere from 25 to 75,000 people. So while we're seeing about 150 people be exonerated every year, that's not keeping pace with the problem.
Tell us about what you're working on right now.
Well, here on Wrongful Conviction Day, we stand just 2 weeks away from the scheduled execution of Robert Roberson in Texas, who is an innocent father on death row. His daughter, Nikki, died in 2002. She was very sick. She had undiagnosed pneumonia, was given improper medication, and then had an accident. And he rushed his daughter to the hospital. Robert has autism. He was judged by hospital personnel who didn't understand his reactions. He couldn't explain what happened to his daughter. And at that time, shaken baby syndrome was an unquestioned diagnosis. And so when there were certain characteristics called the triad seen in a child, it was just presumed that was diagnostic of abuse, and doctors and medical examiners didn't look any further. They thought they had the answer. But in the years since that time, we've come to know that there are other conditions that also mimic those conditions that are seen that used to be taken as absolute proof of shaken baby syndrome. And that's what Robert's daughter exhibited and what she had. And so he could be the first person in the United States executed based on shaken baby syndrome and evidence that we now know is unsupported.
We have a clip from a detective that helped to get that conviction. I'd like to play that.
I am Brian Wharton, and I was the lead detective in the case against Robert Roberson. I am now 100% convinced that Robert is an innocent man, that we made terrible mistakes. And now the state of Texas is poised to execute an innocent man on the 16th of October.
So if you have the lead detective saying, you know what, we made a mistake, we messed up, why isn't Robert Roberson then walking free?
It shows just how hard it is to undo a wrongful conviction. And here we are, not only is it the lead detective, but we have a groundswell of support, conservative lawmakers, a whole group of people who are coming together who are saying that this execution should not go forward. And yet, it very well could. We need the courts to step in, either the Court of Criminal Appeals in Texas, the federal courts. Somebody next needs to step in and stop this execution.
What would
It'll
need
be
to
too
happen
late
to keep it from happening on October 16th?
Well, the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals could issue a stay of execution, so could the federal courts, and let Robert's case go back to the courts. We're asking for an opportunity to present these witnesses to a judge to get back into court. And the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals could issue a stay. The federal court in Texas could issue a stay, and that's what we're hoping for.
Are any of these options likely?
Well, we have to believe that they are likely, because we don't want to be in a position where 15 days from now we've executed an innocent man. We're not going to be able to go back and fix that.
Why should people at home care?
The reality is that we believe in a criminal legal system in this country, a democracy in this country, a rule of law in this country that sets us apart, right, from other nations in this world. We believe in a constitution that holds innocence, right, at the centerpiece of our criminal legal system. And that's sort of the organizing principle upon which we raise our children, the way we function in the world, right? When we get stopped by police, when we get pulled over, any interactions we have with law enforcement is based on an understanding that this country operates on an assumption and a presumption of innocence that guides what we do. If we accept, right, that that's not the case, right, then right, like I said, all of us are vulnerable, and that is the truth, right? We now are 4,000 exonerated and counting, but as Vanessa pointed out, up to 6% of the prison population is actually innocent.
We thank you both so much for the time and for the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We reached out to Texas's Attorney General for comment on the impending execution of Robert Roberson and did not hear back.